Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company, the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Today, loaded show. Mike Florio questions whether or not Mike Vrabel will be coaching this season. Plus, we have an update on Dianna Russini, and we have an update on Dianna Russini's husband. That's right, the one she's been dragging through the mud before they were getting in trouble. We have an update on that as well. Plus, there is a team in professional sports, major professional sports, that might be as stupid as the Tennessee Titans. And I'll explain it. We'll get to that. We are absolutely loaded, and we react today to the question I brought up yesterday, which was, when it comes to the future of the program, what do you people want this to become? First, though, I do want to start off by telling you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They are the proud presenting sponsor of this program. They've been in business since 1990. They are family-owned and operated with Happy You'll Be or the service is free. If they perform a job, you're not happy, they will make it right. That's right. They also offer true transparency pricing, which means they line item everything on your way in the door. And so before they do any work, they sit down with you and they explain everything. They're not looking for things to fix. They're only looking to fix things that are already broken that you're bringing them out for. That's why I love Hiller. I trust them. I use them at my home. They take great care of me. They can do the same for you. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today. Also, I just have to say this. Sometimes I can't help myself. I had to take a crack at the Titans on Twitter. So if you're looking at the stream, the Titans just put out a tweet with autographed koozies. You know, the kind of thing that you put your drink in. You know, we always have koozies out on the boat. Crack open a beer. Not that I crack open beer on the boat because I'm driving the boat and I'm very responsible. But you crack open a beer, put it in there out on the lake. Your hand doesn't get frozen cold and your beer stays nice and cold. The Titans put out a tweet saying, retweet and comment for a chance to win a Carnell Tate and Keldrick Falk autographed can cooler. And I had to reply to it, and I said, wow, a koozie. What are the Titans doing? Serious question. Hey, let's get Carnell Tate. Hey, congratulations on being the fourth pick and the fact that we're going to give you $40 million. Can you sign these koozies so somebody can retweet us so we can get more impressions? I have never seen an organization, whether it's with their YouTube setup or whatever it else may be, I have never seen an organization that is just so low rent in this regard. Koozies? Can't you do better? Like footballs or helmets or jerseys? Koozies? Also, what the fuck are you supposed to do? You get a Carnell Tate koozie. If you stick your beer in that koozie, then isn't somebody, like, his signature's going to rub off? Serious, what the fuck? This reminds me of when my dad got that Delaney Walker bobblehead doll as his season ticket holder gift from 2024 or 2023 or whatever on the box. And they sent it to him a year later, and they were like, here's your season ticket gift. I'm like, oh, dear God. You got to watch this shit team pay thousands of dollars for tickets, and the best you could do is an old Delaney Walker bobblehead doll. The best you can do is a koozie. And again, what is supposed to happen to the signature when you put your cold beer in the koozie? And who at their home has a display case where there's a Joe Montana football and a Terry Bradshaw helmet and a Keldrick Falk koozie? Just Titans. You're one of 32 organizations in the NFL, which means that your value is roughly $10 billion. Can we act like it? All right. let's start on our big story today. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, said Mike Vrabel might not be the coach of the Patriots this year. What? So, this was an appearance that Florio did on Howard Eskin's podcast. Howard Eskin, longtime guy in Philadelphia. He was at WIP for forever. He covered the Eagles. I think he covered them all, but he really covered the Eagles. But Florio was on his podcast, and Eskin, they were talking about Vrabel and Russini, and Howard Eskin was asking a question about Vrabel, and he's like, well, I know Vrabel's not going to get fired. Listen to what Mike Florio had to say on the Howard Eskin podcast. Take a look.
Do you think Mike Vrabel, he'll be there this year?
I'm not ready to say that.
Oh, really?
I don't know what else is going to happen, Howard. Look at everything that's happened the last 22 days.
So
we're one development away from something that makes it impossible for him to return.
So you think there's a chance I don't think he's going to be there after this year because I don't think they're going to have a good enough year. But you think he might not last either into or through this year?
I think that there is a non-zero chance he's not the coach come week one. Because I look at it this way. We've already had 22 days of developments, and a lot of this is the product of horrible PR management. Horrible. Like, they will be studying in universities for decades to come what not to do when faced with a PR crisis. They pushed a story right out of the gates that quickly was debunked.
Yep.
It hasn't been proven. That conflicted with what our eyes saw. You know, I tried to be very respectful early on. And I said this, the photos are what they are. The statements are what they are. I'll leave it to reasonable people to decide whether there's any daylight between the two, because there clearly was. And so I think this has just made it worse. And with each passing development, it becomes a little more problematic. The fact that he missed the third day of the draft, this idea that he may miss more time as he undergoes counseling in an effort to deal with this intensely problematic personal life issue. We've never seen this before.
Okay. So, first of all, Howard Eskin's like, I don't think he'll be there next year. Florio is like, well, I'm not ready to go there to say Vrabel's going to be the coach this upcoming season for the New England Patriots. Whoa, now. This is a lot to unpack. So NBC's lead NFL insider, which used to have some real juice, and that's not a shot at NBC or Florio. That's more of a shot at the idea of saying the word lead or the title lead insider, which used to really matter, and now it's like lead insider? But NBC's lead NFL insider is speculating that Vrabel might not be the coach this season. The reigning coach of the year for the defending AFC champion New England Patriots. Okay. Number one, a non-zero chance does not mean Florio thinks it's likely that Vrabel is out just because he's saying it's possible. So I think this, and I'm trying to interpret what Florio said, but the unpredictable nature of this story and the fact that it hasn't gone away, that it is now officially a month old. What could be behind door number 8 in this story? Could that be the next development that gets Mike Vrabel out of there? So that's what I think Florio's referring to. But I am going to say this. There is a 0 chance that Mike Vrabel is not the coach of the New England Patriots in relation to the Vrabelgate story. And here's why Vrabel's going to remain the coach. This is a sex scandal. That's it. Vrabel cheated on his wife. It happens all the time. I don't do it, but it does happen. I had a girlfriend one time who was much younger than I was, and she was kind of new to the game. And she had found out that her best friend's mom was a serious hoe. Like, just found, oh my God, so-and-so's mom fucked this guy, that guy. She was running around on her husband, all kinds of stuff. And the girl I was dating at the time, she was dumbfounded by it. And I told her, I said, you think this is crazy now, but here's what's going to happen to you in life. you're going to hear a story of, did you know that Mr. Johnson was cheating on Mrs. Johnson? And you're going to go, oh. And then you're going to hear, and Mrs. Johnson knew about it the whole time. And it was with a man. And they're going to stay together. What? And by about the 5th or 6th time that happens, you kind of just get numb to it. People you grew up with, they become hoes. People you grew up with, parents, you'll find out, oh yeah, they're swingers. What? People you work with who you never think would have an affair or would never have some sort of crazy sex fetish that you know. What? It happens. You all know that. This is a sex scandal. Mike Vrabel cheated on his wife. It happens. But that's not grounds for a head coach to be fired. This is just a bigger story than almost all the other sex scandals because of who it was, Vrabel and Russini, two famous people, and the fact that they lied about it with a mountain of evidence at their back. But Mike Vrabel didn't break any laws. He didn't break any NFL rules. He didn't hurt his current team because of his affair, although he might have hurt his former team on the C.J. Stroud draft night, which we've been over. And I don't even know if Mike Vrabel lied to Robert Kraft. When the pictures came out, did Vrabel say, it's not what it looks like? I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Russini? Or did Vrabel say, yeah, Bob? Yeah. It's embarrassing. But if this were the mob, nothing that Mike Vrabel has done would be grounds for getting whacked. I saw a headline from some show that said, Vrabel should be fired. And I'm like, for what? What did Mike Vrabel do? He cheated on his wife. That's what he did. And again, I'm not for it when it comes to Vrabel cheating on his wife, but that's not grounds for termination in the NFL. I'll put it to you like this, and I'm just using this guy as an example. If Josh Allen cheated on his wife, would you cut him as the quarterback? I don't care if Josh Allen fucked every sideline reporter that calls every single game. I'm not getting rid of Josh Allen and sticking Kyle Allen out there as my quarterback. Why would I fire my coach? This isn't the same as other scandals, like Bobby Petrino hiring his mistress and then lying to the athletic director about it. Vrabel didn't do that. He didn't hire Dianna Russini to be the defensive coordinator of the Patriots. But here's the real reason why Mike Vrabel is going to be the Patriots coach in 2026. Because just like any relationship, this is about two people. Vrabel's marriage is about two people, Mike Vrabel and Jen Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's relationship with Dianna Russini. Mike Vrabel, Dianna Russini. Dianna Russini's marriage. Dianna Russini, Kevin Goldschmidt. Two people in the end. Well, this is between Vrabel and the Patriots. And in the end, if Vrabel wants to coach the Patriots and the Patriots want Vrabel to coach the Patriots, then that's all that matters. Mike Vrabel wants to coach the New England Patriots. You know that. Again, I haven't talked to Vrabel for this. Vrabel obviously has been incredibly guarded with all of his Vrabelese non-comments that he's made and the two impromptu press conferences that he had about this. But I know Mike Vrabel well enough to tell you Mike Vrabel wants to coach his way out of this. And what I mean by that is Mike Vrabel wants to go to work and he wants to get in there into the film room, and he wants to get out onto the practice field, and he wants to get in there with the coaches, and he wants to get ready for week 1. That schedule cannot come out soon enough for the New England Patriots so Vrabel can find out who they're playing week 1, and they can start getting to work on that, because Mike Vrabel much rather do that than have to deal with all of this bullshit that he created. He wants to be the coach. He loves coaching, he loves football, and he's good at it. So he's not going to resign. Plus, he gets paid a lot of money. And my guess is he's due a lot more money. So if you're Vrabel, you don't want to end this relationship. There's way too much to lose there. That's his identity. His identity is more rooted in football than it is his family. The other side of it is the Patriots. Do the Patriots want to fire Mike Vrabel? Put yourself in Robert Kraft's shoes. I can tell you, Robert Kraft is incredibly unhappy about this situation. And again, I haven't talked to Kraft about it. I don't know Robert Kraft, but I'll tell you why Robert Kraft is incredibly unhappy about this. Because every time that Vrabel's sex scandal is brought up and Kraft is brought up, people say, well, you know, Robert Kraft had the orchids of Asia, and how can he be mad at Vrabel? And the last thing Robert Kraft wants to do is have people bring up that embarrassing and I believe illegal story. And when I say illegal, I mean an invasion into Kraft's privacy. Not to say that what Kraft was doing was legal, and I don't have a problem with what Kraft did, but I think that in the end they threw it all out because it was kind of an illegal search, and I think that's bullshit. Robert Kraft wants to make the Hall of Fame. And Robert Kraft thinks part of the reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he should be in the Hall of Fame, Robert Kraft thinks part of the reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame is because of the rug and tug at the orchids of Asia. So whenever you bring up Kraft in this story, that comes up. And he hates that. So, yeah, he's not happy about this story. But what do you think Robert Kraft rather have? You think he'd rather have AFC championships, playoff runs, home playoff games at Patriot Place, Sunday night football and Monday night football games? Or do you think he'd rather go back to the crap factory that was the end of Belichick's tenure and the Gerard Mayo year? Even I wouldn't sacrifice Mike Vrabel for this, and I've been all over this story. Now, I would sacrifice Mike Vrabel if I was the owner of the Titans and Mike Vrabel fucked us out of a quarterback we thought was a franchise quarterback because he could not tell his girlfriend about it, which is what looked like happened in 2023 with C.J. Stroud. But that's a different discussion. As far as the Patriots, he hasn't done anything worth firing. And I really can't see a second shoe to drop that would make this a fireable offense. I hate going there because Diana's kids didn't do anything with all of this. And so I want to be very careful about this, but the internet was ablaze with the rumors a couple weeks ago that Diana covered a Titans game, and 9 months later, her son Michael, which is so diabolically fucked up, that she named her kid Michael and was having an affair with a guy named Mike. That's weird. But regardless, there was kind of this internet gossip that, oh, maybe that could be Vrabel's kid. I think that that is incredibly irresponsible to assume or judge or whatever. I don't know. There's no way to tell. This is not the Maury Povich show, but let's just say hypothetically, that's Vrabel's kid, and it comes out. That's still not grounds for firing. One person asked me, what if Vrabel and Russini were doing it in the facility? I still don't think that's grounds for firing. Though now you've got HR involved, and who knows, these are multi-billion-dollar businesses and you don't want to get sued. But again, I still wouldn't fire Mike Vrabel if he was banging Dianna Russini in the office. Who cares if he's banging her in the office? Who cares if he's banging her at the Ambiente? Who cares if he's banging her at his house, her house? Who cares? I don't care if it's upstairs at the Bada Bing. It doesn't matter. In the back at Satrielli's. So I can't see anything happening in the Vrabel Gate saga that would lead to Mike Vrabel resigning. The only possible thing that could happen that would make Mike Vrabel not be the coach is if Jen Vrabel were to say, me or football. And I don't think she's going to do that. Number one, that's Mike's identity. And he didn't cheat on Jen Vrabel because of football. He cheated on Jen Vrabel because he likes Dianna Russini. And Vrabel makes a lot of money, and I'm sure that, again, probably likes that. So, when it comes to Florio saying he thinks there's a non-zero chance Vrabel isn't coaching at the beginning of the year, what could possibly happen that would make Robert Kraft want to get rid of Mike Vrabel? Because that's what has to happen here. And I don't think there is a single thing in this story, minus something illegal, that Robert Kraft would fire Mike Vrabel over. One person says, I would fire him over giving team draft information. Again, he didn't hurt this team. Now, I would have fired him. I'm just telling you, the way that it looked to me, I was sitting at, of all places, Twin Peaks, hosting our draft show in 2023. Me, Derek, Chris Sanders. When I got there to do the radio show from 2 to 6, or I guess that day was 2 to 5, and then from 6 to midnight for the draft show. When I got to that Twin Peaks, I thought C.J. Stroud was going number 3 to the Titans. The betting markets thought C.J. Stroud was going number 3 to the Titans. That was all the talk because that's what Dianna Russini was reporting on TV. She was live from Nashville. Then, between 6 to 7, the betting markets had a big shift where Stroud started to look like the favorite to go number 2. And then, when Stroud went number 2, it came out that the Titans got sniped because Houston caught wind of it, so they decided to go with Stroud over Anderson, and then they traded back for Anderson, and then the Colts took Richardson, and then the Titans stuck and picked Skoronski. That night, when Vrabel and Rand Carthon sat down at the podium, they were asked about the C.J. Stroud rumors. Rand Carthon, I think, took the bullet for Vrabel because he was like, well, you know, I said in my pre-draft press conference that there were a lot of teams that were nosy. I was being nosy by calling other teams. But what I thought in that moment on that day, I thought Vrabel let the cat out of the bag by telling his girlfriend, whom he was having an affair with, about the Titans' plans to draft C.J. Stroud. And if I owned the team, and that's what I thought it was, I would have fired him. I even talked about this on the air at the time. And now in hindsight, I think you kind of, if you remember, you can pick up what I was putting down. I was talking about how they needed to launch a commission, an investigation into what happened with the C.J. Stroud stuff. And again, there's so much plausible deniability because you could argue that it was Arizona, whom the Titans would have had to trade with, who called Dianna and told her that. You can argue that the Texans would have taken C.J. Stroud the whole time at number 2, even though Charles Robinson at Yahoo Sports said that's not true. But what it looked like to me was Vrabel let the cat out of the bag on Stroud. I said at the time, there needs to be a commission, an investigation into what happened. If I owned the team, that's what would have happened. There would have been an investigation into what happened, and if it got out that it was Vrabel talking to Russini, I'd have fired him. But he hasn't done any of that to the Patriots. So when you don't do that to the Patriots, I think it makes it tough to sit there and say, okay, well, he's hurt the team with his affair. He may have hurt his last team with his affair, but he hasn't hurt this team with the affair. So, no, Mike Florio, I do not think Vrabel is not going to be coaching next season for the Patriots. Number 2, an update on what's happening with Dianna Russini. Mom has been the word lately on Dianna Russini, eh? Well, thankfully to our friends at the Daily Mail, where I am now a Daily Mail Plus subscriber, we have an update. According to the Daily Mail, quote, a source close to the reporter has revealed that now Russini is said to be in, quote, survival mode while trying to navigate the fallout from the shocking revelations. Quote, Dianna's life is pretty much all over the place right now, a source exclusively told the Daily Mail. She's lost a lot already, and there's still more hanging in the balance. Career-wise, it's hard to see how she gets back to where she was. There's always going to be that question of trust, and the scandal isn't something people will just forget, the source continued. Well, no duh for us, but then I have to remember this is the Daily Mail. And so if it's the Daily Mail, this is a bigger than football audience, so I understand why they had to say that. But here's where it gets interesting. Quote, beyond the press box, the emotional toll of the situation has been compounded by Russini's reported feelings for the Patriots coach, which have now been complicated by the public fallout. What? Quote, on top of that, her marriage has taken a serious hit, and she's also dealing with the loss of Mike, who she genuinely loved, the insider said. Let's stop there for a second, because the husband is part two of this, who she genuinely loved. She did genuinely love Mike Vrabel, and I think Mike Vrabel genuinely loves her. This is the unfortunate part of all of this. I've said this. There was somebody that I used to be very close with in college, and they had a boyfriend. And she had a crush on her boyfriend's best friend, even though she and her boyfriend had been together for a while. And I could tell she felt terrible about this. And I told her, I said, look, you can love more than one person. This is a society thing where all of a sudden we think that our brains are only allowed to be in love with one person. And that's not really how it works. I mean, I have a brother and a sister. I love my brother and I love my sister. There's no limit on how many people in our lives we might love one way or another. You can love your wife and also love your girlfriend. It happens. That doesn't mean it's right, but it does happen. I think the saddest part of this, other than the kids, is that I do think that Russini loves Vrabel. And I do think that Vrabel also loves Dianna Russini. So she is reeling over the fact that she lost Mike, and she genuinely loves Mike. The Daily Mail continues, quote, Russini's husband, Kevin Goldschmidt, is said to be reeling from the public nature of controversy, which has put an immense strain on their union. Quote, her husband has felt sidelined for a long time, and this controversy might be what finally pushes things to the breaking point, the source added. At the same time, he's dealing with the embarrassment, still cares about her, and would want to find some way to fix things if he can. The emasculation has taken a toll, though. Buddy, move on. I have to play, again, this compilation of cuts. This is Dianna on ESPN talking about her husband. This is Dianna with Stugotz talking about her husband. All these clips have come to light since the affair broke. Take a look.
And I think we all do weird things when we're in love, and we overshare and overpost. And look, he's getting married to a beautiful actress. I'm married to someone average. I don't post a lot about him. If I was married to someone beautiful, I'd overpost too.
Now, this doesn't seem nice. We have put together photos of Dianna's husband here for everyone to see so you can make some amends on national television.
We're average together. And you know what the worst part is? He sent me a text during that segment, not watching because he actually works for a living. And he said, good luck today. Be great on Get Up. So the guy's got a heart of gold, and here I am on national TV killing him. Look, we're average together, but he makes me above average because he married me. So I am so sorry. I need to really stop killing my husband on television. I'm going to be divorced by Christmas.
12 days. I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to eat. My family's going to hate me. My husband's going to threaten divorce. But we've signed up for this. This, I didn't sign up. I was not ready. And we're getting divorced at the end of the year.
Right. Stop. Breaking news. Don't say that.
It's hard. It's hard. We're going through it.
Sorry, Kev.
Dianna, with the Eagles,
he doesn't even know who I am right now.
I haven't seen your
I think
butt.
he's okay. Oh, he has. We've talked about. We've never been more disconnected in our lives. Our text messages look like two robots. Hello.
Just going through the motions.
Is he
Safe?
getting?
Yes.
Is he getting
Boys
Eagles
alive?
insider in the divorce?
Love you. Any of that? Love you. Love you too.
No, not even an emoji. I get a picture of Mikey and Joey looking adorable and perfectly dressed because Kevin's so good at that.
Right.
And then I'll write back, miss you guys, you too. He texts the next day.
Yeah.
Going to work. I'm like, what? 15 hours just passed.
Right.
You
So.
didn't-
Yeah.
So
Well,
I have a lot of work to do,
Right.
guys, when I get home.
Yes.
A lot of work to do.
On your
My advice, dude, move on. Again, according to the Daily Mail, he's dealing with the embarrassment, still cares about her, and would want to find some way to fix things if he can. The emasculation has taken a toll, though. Let me say this again. I want to be fair and honest with this. If you take her back, none of your friends will have respect for you. I don't even know if your family will have respect for you. How could you possibly take her back? She has had an affair since before you got married, which has lasted your entire marriage. Strike one. There is clip after clip on ESPN, Dan Lebitard, Stugotz, wherever, of her crushing you. She's sharing a Spotify playlist with Mike Vrabel. Her son is named Mike. Your son is named Mike. How could you take her back? You can't take her back. You cannot do that. I'm sure you still care about her. You've been married to her for 5 years, which means you've probably been in a relationship with her longer than that, though with Dianna, who knows? I still care about people too. That doesn't mean you get rid of them. So, again, when it comes to Dianna is clearly, just underneath a mountain of shit. Her career is, for the most part, over. She's a national embarrassment. At some point, she's going to have to explain all of this to her kids. She's lost the man that she truly loves, and she's probably getting divorced from the guy that deep down inside she probably doesn't love and should have never married. But she did that to herself. For you, nobody knew who you were. You were an executive at Shake Shack who used to root for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sure you had a very nice life and probably still do to a certain extent. Now, everybody looks at you across this country as if you are the biggest victim. If you take her back, you will be miserable for the rest of your life. I'm convinced of it. And not only that, I do think Dianna's hot. Dianna's not that hot. I don't think there's really anybody out there that's that hot. But Dianna, dude, come on. One guy says the most emasculating thing he could do is take her back. I don't know this guy. I'm not going to pretend to know this guy. But if he takes her back, if he takes her back at that point, then do whatever you want, Dianna. It doesn't matter. So I couldn't get over that in the Daily Mail. But I want to break this down, too, when it comes to the Dianna front, because a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen next with Dianna. I just want to break this down for a second. So Dianna, according to the Daily Mail, is reeling because her entire life is falling apart, from her marriage to her career. And yet I have to ask this question, and I'm asking this question seriously. Dianna, you're 40 years old. What did you think was going to happen if this all came out? So when you were having the affair, and I've never had an affair, but I've done things that aren't right before. And when I do things that aren't right, there is a thought of, if I get caught doing this, what's going to happen? So, Dianna, when you were doing this, what did you think was going to happen? And I mean that seriously. Did she think that if this affair came out, her football audience would just brush it off and say, nah, so what if she's voting for Coach of the Year and voted for Vrabel and's fucking the guy? It's fine. Did she think that's how people were going to react to the story? Did she think her bosses at the New York Times that they were just going to shrug it off and say, oh, who cares if reporters fuck their sources? Did she think her husband was going to sit there and say, well, I mean, I'm a VP at Shake Shack, but that's Mike Vrabel. That's the great Mike Vrabel right there, so it's okay. Did she think Mike Vrabel was going to leave his family for her? So what did she think was going to happen? That takes me back right to the hiking trip, the alleged hiking trip that didn't happen. Dianna Russini, when you told that story to the New York Post that you were on a girls' trip with 6 others hiking, did you not think that somebody would at least ask for one iota of proof about it? Oh, here's my bullshit excuse with no proof to back it up. Again, what did you think was going to happen? You're 40 years old, Dianna. You make $1 million as an NFL reporter. So when you're having this affair with Mike Vrabel, what did you think was going to happen? And before you tell me that other people have affairs all the time, ask yourself this. What would happen to them if their affair came out and was public? Forget about the people that are having affairs that haven't come out because you were having an affair that didn't come out. It sounds like a lot of people knew about your affair. I had speculated about your affair for years. But once it comes out into the public, what are you going to do? And if you're 40 years old and you don't think those things through, I have a hard time having a lot of sympathy for you. I do have some sympathy because I can't imagine what's going through her head. I mean, I like being honest with the audience. Lindsay and I had been together for 2 months when we found out that we were going to have a little Jack. And at that point in time, when you know somebody for 2 months, I didn't know if it was going to work out between us, but I did say, no matter what happens, I wanted to do everything in my power that when my child, which I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at the time, that my child will grow up to respect me one day when he's older, which I really think is a roundabout way of projecting my own feelings onto somebody else, saying, I hope I respect myself through this. But if there were clips of me saying, well, you know, Lindsay's average, or like when we had gotten into it, which doesn't happen very often, but when you live with somebody and you have a child with somebody and, you know, it's not all rainbows and sunshines every day, although a lot of our days are rainbow and sunshine. If I had gone on the air that day and had said things like, yep, Lindsay is really, really, really mad at me today. Why is she mad at you, Jared? Well, she's mad at me because I have about 19 plastic bottles of water just sitting there right on the nightstand. And she'd asked if I would clean them off, and I said I would, and then I didn't, which that does happen like once every other week. That wouldn't be fair to her. And that's what Dianna did. So, Dianna, what did you think was going to happen? And for the husband, dude, move the fuck on. I can get Jen Vrabel trying to make this work because they've been together for 20 years. They have 2 kids together. Vrabel does love her, even though he's got a real fucked up way of showing it. He does love her. But him? Dude, she trashed you on television. She's sitting there saying, I married an average guy. He's the vice president of Shake Shack. That's not average. What's average? I mean, again, can't all be like me. Can't all be with the Canadian CMA Industry Person of the Year back to back. But average? You said on national TV that he's average? Dude, move on. And it sucks for the kids. It really does. But if you take her back, if you take her back, we're going to have to, if it comes out, and I told Caroline, I said the next shoe to drop is whatever happens with the couples, because that's going to be public information. If Mike and Jen get a divorce, that's public information. If Dianna and Kevin Goldschmidt get a divorce, that's public information. So if they don't get a divorce, that in and of itself will be public information. If it comes out that Kevin Goldschmidt and Dianna Russini are getting back together or are going to try to make it work out, or we may have to do an emergency podcast about this. Oh, my goodness gracious. Woo! Thank you, by the way, to the Daily Mail for that. Dude, move on. The next question when it comes to Dianna is, when are we going to hear from Dianna? So Mike Florio, again, Pro Football Talk, put out this story. Hints emerged that Dianna Russini will eventually tell her story. Whether she talks, when she talks, and what she says could create a new wave of issues for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. Now, I just want to tell you guys the game within the game here. So here's what this is. Florio puts in there about what Dianna says could create a new wave of issues for Vrabel and the Patriots. If you click this story, it tells you that Stu Gatz on his radio show said that it's Dianna's story to tell, and he's not going to just hop on the radio and talk about Dianna. If she wants to tell her story, she can tell it. That's what Florio's referring to. Those are the hints. But this is perfect clickbait by Florio. Because, of course, everybody's clicking these stories. This is the most popular story in the NFL. It's a national story. It's in the Daily Mail, the New York Post, almost every day. People cannot get enough of this story. The mainstream national media tried to ignore the story, and it's just blown up because people can't get enough of it. So Florio knows that because Florio has all the data. And so he wants to put out as many Dianna Russini, Mike Vrabel stories and videos as possible, which is why he put this out. She could create a new wave of issues for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. That is Florio's way of, quote unquote, sticking to football. Or as he would say on his show, staying on target. The reason I say that is because I do wonder when we are going to hear from Dianna. And I think there are a lot of people out there who want to know when we are going to hear from Dianna Russini. I don't know when we're going to hear from Dianna. Stu Gatz said his offer for her to join his show still stands. I don't think Stu Gatz can pay her what she was making from The Athletic, but again, times are different. Here's what my advice would be. If I was Dianna Russini's agent, advisor, publicist, whatever, you know what I mean. I would tell Dianna, at this juncture, take the best deal. And you've got to make that decision now because the story is hot. 6 months from now, this story might not be hot anymore. There might be another scandal that has overshadowed it. But right now, this thing is all anybody can talk about. So what I mean by take the best deal, I mean, if Alex Cooper offers you to have your own podcast on her Unwell network, and she wants to pay you a bunch of money, but you're going to have to start that first podcast off by telling everybody what happened. You can't start the Scoop City podcast with Dianna Russini and then say, look, I know that there was a lot out there about my previous job, but I'm going to keep my personal life personal. And let's get on to what's happening with the Atlanta Falcons. You can't do that. If Alex Cooper pays you a bunch of money, that first episode has to be, here's what went down. If the NFL, the Patriots, Vrabel, if somebody offers you an NDA with a bunch of money and you're like, hey, I'm probably going to go through a divorce. I've got 2 kids. I was making $1 million a year. I'm certainly not going to be making $1 million a year after this. They're offering me $3 million to hush. Take the deal. Take the money. And then don't ever talk about it. Because the last thing you want to do is give that money up. So whether it's Oprah's Couch, hosting your own podcast and talking about it, Alex Cooper, call her daddy, go on that. I don't care. Take the best deal. And assume that when you take the best deal, this is your last deal. I understand. Money right now is not what it used to be. And I think times are getting tough. There was a story in the New York Post about how Post Malone has canceled a month of his tour, and they're calling it Blue Dot Fever, and apparently Meghan Trainor and the Pussycat Dolls and other people are having the same issues. And I'm like, Blue Dot Fever, what's that? If you go to the Ticketmaster website, it'll show the seating chart with each seat representing a blue dot, and if it's just full of blue dots, that means you're not selling any tickets. So when I see all these tours canceling because they're not selling any tickets, that's telling me times are getting tough around here. As far as the economy is concerned, gas prices are through the roof. So it's a lot harder to make $1 million, $3 million, $5 million last the way that $3 million, $5 million, $1 million used to be. But if you get offered $3 million, I'd sign that NDA and I'd treat that $3 million as if that is my retirement savings and we're starting today. I better figure out how to make that $3 million last, because I don't know if I'm going to get another payday after that. That would be my advice to Dianna Russini. Take the best deal. And if you think the best deal is to sign an NDA and go away, take it. If you think the best deal is to host your own podcast and see if you can turn into Pat McAfee, do it. Take the best deal. Take the most money. That is my advice to Dianna. I do want to talk to you about something that happened in another sport, but it reminds me so much of our Tennessee Titans. So, did anybody see what happened in Toronto yesterday? They introduced their new general manager, John Chayaka, whatever. He's their new general manager. Now, I knew that name, but I'm like, where do I know that? It's hockey. It's a general manager. It's not the NFL or anything like that. And I remember that the Predators played Arizona in the bubble series in 2020, and he had just left right before the bubble. Like, the general manager just leaves right before the bubble. And apparently he had gone away. And yesterday, the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the proudest franchises in all of pro sports, one of the biggest franchises in all of pro sports, like the Yankees, the Lakers, the Cowboys, that's what they are in the NHL. They hired this John Chayaka as their general manager. And yesterday at the press conference, it got frisky. So this was the question that was asked by the Toronto Sun yesterday at this press conference with this general manager in Toronto. And I just want to tell you guys, I salute the asker of this question.
Simmons? Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, for Keith. You talk about the due diligence that you did on John prior to hiring him and now hiring him. In the past, say, 3 to 4 days, I have been in contact with about 20 people who work in the National Hockey League, many of whom are prominent names that we would all know. And of the 20 people I spoke to, one was supportive of John's hiring, and the other 19 thought it was a sham, to be perfectly honest. Words were used like con artist, liar, salesman. How did you come to a different conclusion than I was able to come to in a very short time?
I must have talked to different people.
That's it? Because I'm telling you, the hockey world today is astounded by this announcement.
Okay.
And your response to that?
Is we've conducted due diligence, and it was deep due diligence, It was a thorough process, and I'm quite happy with where we've landed.
Holy shit. So I saw that yesterday on Twitter, and I was like, wow, I love stuff like that. I mean, I've gotten into it with coaches. I've gotten into it with general managers. But I don't think I've ever done that, where I'm like, I talked to 20 people, and 19 people said, you are a fucking piece of shit, which is exactly verbatim, or I should say, paraphrasing, what the columnist said. And apparently he was on a podcast when they were interviewing John Chiaka. And here's the story that he learned in the process. This is from some Canadian podcast, not exactly sure, but their logos are all over the stream. So yeah, this is the story he told about the new guy that is the Maple Leafs general manager.
The GM now in Utah, Bill, when he took over, the office in Arizona was spectacular. And it was a huge desk, glass windows. It didn't have, you could see into the office from everywhere you walked in the hallway. So it was one of those things. I'm an open guy. And in his office, he had 6 computer terminals. And it looked he looked like a Wall Street trader. I mean, it was just stuff everywhere. And they all had data on every screen. So Bill Armstrong goes in for his first day of work, and he's trying to figure out how this all works. Well, he's got the one computer in front of him is working. He can't get any of the other ones to work. Calls the IT guy in. The IT guy comes in and says, well, none of those computers are set up. That's, it's basically fake information on the screens. It's to show people so he had 6 terminals on his desk. 5 of them didn't work.
Well, maybe he's a great poker player.
At that moment, my conversation with John Shake is over. At that moment, when I find this out, and I don't know if Keith Pelly knows this, but if I find this out, sorry, we're going in another direction.
Okay, so they end up hiring the guy, and that was the guy that asked the question at the press conference about, why'd you hire this guy? Because everybody I talk to in the league says he's full of shit. And look, when it comes to the Maple Leafs, I probably follow them a little closer than other people. My girlfriend is Canadian. She's from Etobicoke, which is where Keith Pelly, the president of the Maple Leafs who ran this GM search, is from. And so I kind of keep an eye on it a little bit, but it hit me when I heard that story about the bullshit, about the computer monitors. I said, oh my God, the Toronto Maple Leafs, again, the New York Yankees of hockey, they just hired their Chad Brinker. Keith Pelly and John Choika, that is Burke Nihill and Chad Brinker. That's what it is. Oh my goodness. When they say, I hear things that this guy is a con artist, this guy is a snake, this guy is I'm like, oh my God, that's Chad Brinker. And here's what made me realize it. A year and a half ago, last year. So last year, Lindsay and I went to a wedding, and it was a half American, half Canadian wedding. And the the father of the bride, I guess, owns a minor league hockey team, and there were a bunch of hockey people that were there. And it was the night of Game 7 between the Leafs and the Florida Panthers. And everybody had their phones out watching Game 7 of the Leafs and the Panthers obviously won. And when the Panthers won, everybody at this wedding was like, oh, the Leafs choked. The next week, we were in Toronto for Jelly Roll and Jason Aldean. And when we were there, everybody we talked to was like, oh, the Leafs, they choked. Adam Vingan and I got into this big, argument about whether or not they choked. I'm like, you got to the second round of the playoffs and you lost to the Florida Panthers in Game 7. This is a team that's going to win the cup, just won the cup, and the year before that played for the cup. It's okay to lose in the second round. And yet, since then, they have torn it all down. They fired the general manager. They fired the president. The guy that was kind of the CEO decided, I'm going to take over. And he's hired a general manager who is an absolute snake. That is the Titans. Oh my God. The Toronto Maple Leafs have turned into the Tennessee Titans. Can you believe it? The Titans had the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. The Titans were 7-5 in first place, and they fired the general manager. He wasn't doing a good enough job. Then they hired Rand Carthon, which mistakes happen. But then Burke Nihill, I believe, talks Amy into how great Chad Brinker is, and now Chad Brinker is in charge. And when it came to Chad Brinker, I kept asking everybody, what has this guy done? What is he now? Look, I didn't talk to 20 people, and 20 people didn't tell me that Chad Brinker was a snake. I just felt like Chad Brinker was a snake because he would get on a podcast and call Rand Carthon a long-lost brother, and then Chad Brinker was the one who got promoted when Rand Carthon got fired. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it looks like Chad Brinker snaked out Rand Carthon. Now, they say that didn't happen, but who knows? But here's what I find fascinating. I think this is the exact same scenario the Titans had, where the reason the Titans fell apart after 2021 and in the middle of 2022, it wasn't because of J-Rob. It wasn't because of Vrabel. It wasn't because of Amy. It was because of all three of them. Because all three of them got into this cold war about credit. Who was responsible for why the team was good? And the truth is they all played a role in why the team was good, and they've all played a role in why the team sucks now. Amy has obviously played the largest role because once she fired the other two, there's nothing they could do about it to fix it. And she has only taken the franchise backwards. But all three of them got in what I call a dick off, where they were all trying to see whose was bigger, and they all resented each other because of it. And they'll never say it, but I think it's true. And from that moment on, where they were this close in the 2021 playoffs with Tannehill, and they were 7-3 in first place and had beaten Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field on Thursday Night Football. From that moment forward, it has been one disgraceful move after another. Everybody wants their credit. Everybody wants their say. Burke Nihill running the operation. We crushed the Chad Brinker hire. Or excuse me, the Brian Callahan hire. Chad Brinker promoted to president of football operations, asked on a podcast, asked on a preseason game. What do you do with the inability to give a real answer? And yet, the one thing I will say about the Toronto Maple Leafs, this ain't Nashville. You know, what's funny in Nashville is there can be all this drama behind the scenes, and all these people don't get fired, and you don't have these power shifts every year and these organizational philosophy changes. If there's not something brewing underneath, that doesn't happen. But in Nashville, nobody seems to go do the digging. I mean, I'd like to know what happened when it came to Chad Brinker's exit. Again, on January 2nd, they told us that they went to Amy and they asked Amy to put Mike Borgonzi in charge. Now, I'm smart enough to know that nobody in the NFL voluntarily gives up power unless you're retiring, but that's what they said. Then, as soon as the draft's over, they said Chad Brinker was voluntarily stepping down because he wanted to get back into personnel. That doesn't add up. But where's the article? Where's the story? Where's the behind the scenes? Easton, somebody, where is it? And in Nashville, they may not figure that out. That's what I was talking about yesterday. When I was talking about the new media policies pissing off the local beat guys, and I said, be careful, Titans. You have a very comfortable beat group. You don't need to piss them off. In Toronto, they're going to investigate every nook and cranny of that thing. And I think you're going to see dysfunction that is just like the Titans. I think the Maple Leafs are going to fucking stink. I think they're going to get rid of Austin Matthews, and I think they're going to be absolute shit. The same way you got rid of Derrick Henry, and you were absolute shit. But it's going to be such a bigger deal because it's such a bigger media market. But oh my God, it's amazing to me. This is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans were right there. Last year, the Maple Leafs were right there. And then they blew it. And finally, here on the program, yesterday I began the show talking about the future of the Stillman and Company program. And I asked you guys, I said, what do you guys want? Because over the last month, this has been basically a national show. This has been the Vrabel and Dianna show over the last month. And the YouTube analytics bear it out. And who's listening to this show and watching this show? They're watching national stuff. Jim Rome, Fox Sports Radio, Colin Cowherd, NBC or NFL on NBC. Do we want to go that route? Or do we want to be a local show and go the other route? And I said, look, I want to know what you people have to think, what you people have to say. I said, leave a comment. Comment on the YouTube. Comment on the Spotify show, whatever. And the overall tenor that I feel like I got from people, and again, this is going to be a daily process as far as what the future of this show is, was a lot of people saying, hey, let's keep doing this and let's just put a little Titans in there. One person said, do a daily Titans show and a daily NFL show. The problem with that is I ain't doing 18 shows a day. Can't do it, not going to do it, so forget about that. One person says, I like you on Sirius XM Channel 82. I don't care about the Tennessee teams, but you make it interesting. It would make me very happy if you include national topics just like on Mad Dog. Patriots fans here says, I will definitely stick around if you broaden your coverage beyond the Titans. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to just really hang our hats and bang on the NFL topics. And then we'll work in the Titans, not like they were just one of 32 teams, but we'll work in the Titans because, again, we're going to talk Titans. And if there's a big Titan story, we'll talk about it. But also weaving everything else in. During the football season, I will certainly have Titans postgame shows, just like I did last year, which will be right about the Titans game as soon as the Titans game is over. And we'll have Titans Monday. I'll never get rid of Titans Monday. But I think we'll hit more of the NFL than I ever consistently hit doing terrestrial local radio. And I have to ask, what do you guys think about that? So again, comment below and let us know. One person says, I'll leave a comment later, but I think you know what everyone is sick of. Again, I can look in live time when someone is watching or listening to the show. When we talk Vrabel Russini, it is by far the number one topic at pretty much all times. Let's get to some of your reaction. One person says, at this point, the evil in me is rooting for Mike Vrabel to lose his job because he is an arrogant asshole. So I agree that he's an arrogant asshole. I'm not rooting for him to lose his job because when Mike Vrabel is coaching in the NFL, it's more fun. Like, I had serious skin in the game with Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl because I wanted Mike Vrabel fired from the Titans. And if the Titans were to have, or if Vrabel were to have won that Super Bowl, then I would have gotten everybody going, ah! In fact, I was totally prepared to do a post game after the Super Bowl. Now, we did a post game because Sam Darnold won, and I was right, Titans. But I was going to do a post game live if the Patriots won for sure, because I knew I was going to get all those New England fans that heard me on Felger and Maz that were going to go, what do you think now, fat boy? And I was very excited about the possibility of that happening, though I was way happier to be right about Sam Darnold. This guy, who's an Indianapolis fan, says, I love this guy. No BS. As a Colts fan, I respect it. Thank you, but just know that I'm going to get on the Colts' ass too, because I get on the Colts all the time. Logan says, the Titans are such a joke of an organization. The last 5 years, it has been embarrassing. Agreed, and now the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be just as bad. You know what's funny? I say brother-in-law, Lindsay and I aren't married, but if she says yes, then we will be married. But her brother, so my non-brother-in-law, who's pretty much her brother, asked me one time. We were going to the World Series in Toronto in October. We were on the train. And I don't know if he was making small talk with me or if he was genuinely curious, but he said to me, he goes, why are the Titans so bad? And we're on the train and I looked at him and I'm like, dude, how much time you got? And I told him about the J-Rob, Vrabel, Amy, Rand Carthon, Callahan, Brinker, Borgant. Like I kind of laid out to him the whole thing. And so the next time I talk to him, I'm going to say to him, hey, remember when we were on the train going to Rogers Center and you asked me about why the Titans are such a mess? That's what the Maple Leafs are doing right now. So the Titans have been bad. It is one thing that has absolutely been going down. Bobby says 60% Titans, 15% Preds, 5% college, and the rest for general news like Vrabelgate. I mean, the Nashville Predators are going to have to go deep into the playoffs in order for me to do 15% Preds. And I say that with all due respect. I love the Predators. I'm a season ticket holder. I hope they win the draft lottery tonight. Come on now. Let's not get too caught up there. 15%. Jim says, I came back after leaving the show for a week over this Vrabel obsession, and here you are still talking about it. Bye for another week. Okay, Jim. You must be real fun at parties. Caleb says, I speak for everyone in the chat when I say this is the order of things we want to hear about. Titans, Preds, Vols, Braves, NASCAR, badminton, esports, lacrosse, Vandy, and then number 10, Vrabelgate. Where is celebrity birthdays on that list? Does anybody have that one? Oh, TDG says, breaking news, L'Jarius Sneed beat all his cases. Okay, I'd like to know what actually happened then at the car dealership with the Lamborghini and the gun and who shot and what the relationship was and everything else. That said, the Titans still got swindled out of all that money. One person says, if Drake May has a good offensive line, they will do fine and Vrabel will be safe. Maybe. I almost gave out the phone number for Mad Dog Radio here on our program. One person says, it's crazy to think the Titans have won 12 games after the infamous Packer game in 2022. 12 games. That was 4 years ago. 12 games. Unbelievable. Which is crazy. All right, that's it for us. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Here on the program, it's Stillman & Company. 440 Sports, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.